Uganda joins the International Labour Day, full employment remains a mystery, with the growing informal sector and booming labour export sector being open testimony. Meanwhile, Uganda's political landscape continues to evolve in dramatic turns, with recent events underscoring a growing tension between ideology purity and pragmatic alliances. At the center of this political flux is the National Unity Platform, NUP, which recently issued a stark ultimatum to its so-called rebel members of parliament.
We are waiting for them, and we will wait until 22nd of the month.
These MPs, accused of aligning with interests contrary to the party's objectives, have been given a deadline to explain their political conduct or risk disciplinary action. Meanwhile, across the aisle in the Democratic Party, DP, a contrasting narrative has emerged, one of reconciliation and renewal. The long-standing rift between DP President Norbert Mao and Fred Mukasambide appears to have thawed following a surprise reunion that has sent ripples across the traditional opposition base.
They are literally reconciling, but practically are they reconciling? No, they have never separated, but in spirit they are apart.
The reconciliation not only mends a significant political relationship, but also hints at possible realignments within Uganda's older parties, many of which have struggled to maintain relevance amid the rise of new political forces. In this fluid terrain, the possibility of new political formations looms as alliances shift and old rivalries thaw. Will these two exclude or embrace dissent to reunite NBS Frontline.
Yes, it is the Frontline. A very good evening. My name is Simon Kagwanjala. Well, 2026 is beckoning in very interesting ways with what you would, in essence, describe as a moment of truth for political parties across the board. Quite a number of emerging dynamics speak to crossroads that would require the party to go into a serious reflection. Starting with the National Unity Platform, they have issued a 1-month ultimatum for amnesty towards the renegades. Well, this announcement has been greeted with, well, sneers from the rebels. You would actually imagine that they are warming up to the truce, but ironically, they are rubbishing what the party is up to. But it's also coming at a time when there's been a declaration of vacant seats. All the seats that have been hitherto occupied by legislators who fell out with the status quo of the party were declared vacant, including, among others, the key seats within Masaka, Mityana, and in other places. Well, what are the stakes here? How genuine is the amnesty from the National Unity Platform? We'll be asking. We'll also be looking at whether indeed the party can live up to its target to have these MPs replaced and what it means for internal democracy within political parties. On the other hand, the Democratic Party is back in the headlines, this time with Honorable Norbert Mao, the Minister for Justice and Constitutional Affairs, who doubles as the party president, expressing interest to return as party president for the 4th time. Well, this return has been greeted or has been launched with a reconciliation with his erstwhile rival, enemy, or foe, Honorable Fred Mukasambide. They reconciled openly. What were the points of departure? And to what extent does this return of Norbert Mao for a 4th term complicate the already complex position that DP is in after the contentious agreement with the NRM? We'll be getting deep into this and much more with my panelists tonight, Honorable Semuju Ibrahim Nganda, Member of Parliament, Kira Municipality, and a frontliner. Good to have you. A very good evening. We'll also be speaking to Honorable James Chinobe, a former legislator and a former diplomat who joins us maybe for the first time on the front line. Good to have you. Honorable Aisha Kabanda, the Deputy Secretary General of the National Interplatform and woman Member of Parliament for Butambala. Nice to have you and a very good evening.
Good evening, viewers. I'm happy to be here.
Honorable Lulume Baiga Omukunja, Member of Parliament, Buikwe South of the Democratic Party. You have always insisted, is it party or party?
Party.
Party.
Yes.
Oh, well, good to have you and a very good evening.
Thank you for having me. Good evening.
Plus, of course, the man with his dictionary, Honorable Fred Mukasambide, former member of the East African Legislative Assembly and Vice President of the Democratic Party. Good evening and nice to have you.
Thank you, Simon, and good evening, viewers.
Well, very interesting. I'll start with you, Honorable Aisha Kabanda. Upon what basis is the ultimatum towards renegades being issued?
Thank you so much. I don't understand the excitement about this because what is happening in our party is actually determined by the law. Because the law says that 1 year to elections, people have a right to move from, even from parliament, to move from one political party to the other. And we are into that time. So as we prepare for elections, it's timely now that we get to know who are those that still want to continue to be with us and who want to go. That's the law. So we are moving within the law.
So how are you looking at people who have fallen out with the status quo? For now, how do you regard them?
And indeed, you can't know who exactly has fallen out until you give them the opportunity to, because how do you know? I think that informs why our party says, please by this time speak to us. How do we know who has fallen out? Some have not communicated, okay? Some has not communicated, it's not just coming to the party. There's no information, so how do you know? So around this time, the framers of the law at the time knew, and rightly so, that man is not static, okay? One might wish to change, and it has happened. This is not the first time that's happening. When we are starting the NUP, many people came from all walks of life to join the NUP. Probably, as time has passed by, some of them think the aspirations will not be met within NUP, they want to move on, okay? Maybe others also, for disciplinary reasons, will not be accommodated into the National Interplatform because we have values that we cherish. So what is happening now is what should be happening in every other political party. Each party should be asking, who is willing to continue to move along with us? Whoever doesn't want to continue to move along with you, the gates are open up to go and look for other people with whom they want to associate, okay, who share with them aspirations and values. That's what is happening in my party. And I think it's normal. And if we're not doing that, probably would have been a party that is not ready for what's coming forth.
Okay. The persons or the culprits in this case who are being targeted for this truce include the former vice president, the former deputy president, and a number of legislators who have since denounced the party. Do you imagine that the party has failed to reprimand them through the structures of the party, and they're now coming public to announce that we are ready to forgive you regardless?
As far as I know, the former deputy president of the party, whom you are referring to, had an opportunity to sit with party members and spoke out on the issues that everyone knows about, and was given an option. The option was either to apologize, make good what had gone wrong, and move along. Or, so he chose not to apologize, and he never returned to the party. I don't know how you want the party to understand that. It's like he had chosen to move on with other people. I have told you that as a party, we have values we cherish, and I think every other party, okay? And the parties are for people who would like to associate and work together for common good. If you think the breathing space this way is limited, you are stifled, you want to move out, it's okay. So as far as I know, the party president, the deputy president, had all the opportunity to express himself and make good what had gone wrong, but he chose to not to work with us. And we cannot conscript him. That's what it is.
So are you opening doors for him?
To whoever.
In clear terms, what is this amnesty all about?
I've told you what you're calling amnesty. It's a setting of the law, by the way. I have had people making all sorts of claims. It's a setting of the law that 1 year to the elections, people will move on. So our doors are open to whoever wants to work with us, and our doors are equally open to whoever feels that doesn't want to continue to work with us to move on and go outside. And even those that they may wish to work with us, they have to work with us within certain parameters. Okay? There are parameters. We believe in this. We don't believe in corruption. We believe in a change of government. Lots of things we're believing in. If you believe, you share with us those aspirations, you are welcome.
No, here is the record, Honorable. Mm-hmm. Honorable Muwanga Chivumbi came out boldly and said, if you apologize within 1 month, you shall be forgiven. Apologizing for what?
I am sure Honorable Muwanga Chivumbi was communicating to particular people, okay? Some of them have taken months without coming to the party. They should be able to explain why not, okay? Some of them know their faults. And I know even you've been pointing to particular persons. They know their issues.
What are
so
the
when
issues?
we say you should apologize, and you have been clearly mentioned out, okay? For a member of the party that knows is clean, that person would go to the party the following day and say, hey, I heard you mention my name and I have nothing to do with, I don't know anything, okay? So for a member that has chosen to keep away, and especially if you've been named, then that means there's something wrong with you.
Honorable.
So it's not up to me now to come here on TV and start explaining, Honorable so-and-so did ABC, did you know? The members of parliament whose names were mentioned, okay? Now the obligation is upon them to go to the party and inquire what is wrong that is wanted of them to apologize.
Thank you. Honorable Chinobe, what do you read between the lines as NUP opens its door to grant amnesty to rebels?
The phrases you're using, I don't know whether they apply in this case, but if I understood how well she's saying, we have procedures in our party, just like we have procedures in our party of how to get candidates, how to get replacements. And right now we're in top gear, setting up structures, gazetting a roadmap, indicating the times when you should come in to offer yourself. If you don't, we don't even have to expel you. We shall know that you have not come. If you go and the people throw you out in the primaries, we know how to deal with it. Otherwise, the issues of ultimatum, the issues of the fights that has been going on is in the media. We all know the genesis of what has been going on. But in their wisdom, the party chose to handle it that way. I hope it is going to help them to either unite or get divided over such a small thing. But it's an internal matter. And
but does the party come off now as strong and well-meaning towards building cohesion?
I can't speak for the NUP. First of all, it's a very young party. Maybe
but you can offer analysis.
But maybe these are just trying moments, and maybe these are teething problems of a young party. But we've had more serious challenges in the NRM, as you know. And many of them, we had systematic ways of how we respond to them. Now, if in their wisdom they chose to handle it, I don't think it is strengthening the party.
Do you think NUP is on the right track in the way it's handling internal strife? Just a second, I'll come back to you.
As you move on, if you don't set timelines, when do you identify your candidates? If you don't, because around by this time...
No, it's not about expression of interest. It is pardon. Pardon.
Yes.
You're pardoning renegades who fell out with you. So, Honorable Chinobe, do you think NUP is handling internal strife in a manner that is desirable for a political party seeking power?
I think every party has got its ways of how you handle conflict. Each party has got, she knows she has ever worked in the NRM, who have revolutionary methods of work, how you resolve the steps that you have to take, when to sack, when to dismiss. Because what I see as a difference here is not about expression of interest. It's a sort of a roll call at this time. and giving ultimatum and outlining, if you don't do this, if you don't respond in time, we're going to do this. If that is the method they chose to use, I don't have any more authority to criticize them over that. But you're talking about internal cohesion and comradeship. I think that's where they have challenges of how to move on. Because in parties and organizations where you work together, we work together with people. People are different. People err differently, and the magnitude of the errors may not warrant sometimes the action you take. And once you handle it or mishandle it, somehow it results into bigger structural problems for the party. Look at a scenario where you have someone eventually coming up with a slightly less problem, but he or she is favored, and use a different mechanism to respond to such a situation. It creates double standards for you, and somehow it doesn't help in the cohesion of the party. So, but as a party, if they think that's the best, wish them luck.
Honorable Mbide, what do you pick from NUP's gesture of saying 1 month, you either come to apologize or we write you off?
Yeah, it is. I think it is a new framework of adjudication of causes within the NUP. I tried also to do some analysis on it. They have got the style of justice that commences with a probable sentence, because it looks like as you are on your way here,
you're guilty.
You are guilty, and accordingly you will have to deliver an apology. But that is number one. Number two, there is also some bit of ignorance of persons in terms of the operations of political organizations. Ugandans feel that you can belong to a political party, but at the same time, you possess independent opinion even against a decision taken by a party, however wrong. So that one now also, I think that is where you need to give parties like NUP some bit of credit. That in the event that we have taken a decision, however wrong, individual opinion is not sacrosanct. It has to collapse on the account of a decision taken for as long as it is a decision that has been taken. And I think that is a problem that obtains in the whole country, pursuant to the manner in which the NRM government has stifled the operation of political parties. That people have not learned how parties work, parties have not learned how they should work, and accordingly we are living in a frolicsome kind of ludic where everybody does everything, and I think the media has a full consumption of whatever is happening.
Well, very interesting. Honorable Semoju, what do you pick from NUP's pardon to renegades?
I think I want to look at the internal democracy. Where I disagree with Honorable Chinove is that political parties in Uganda are public institutions. That's why we even pass a budget every year to facilitate the functioning and running of political parties. You cannot say it is their internal. The political party is not internal. It is an institution for all of us, because one day when your party has eventually, as it will collapse, one of the parties will be in charge. So what happens in every party should concern every Ugandan, because these parties are not seeking to establish private businesses. They are seeking to run the country. That's why they are registered under the law. That's why they are facilitated. Internal democracy is on trial in many of the organizations. I was in FDC, I saw what happened. I think FDC was the more democratic party until when we had problems. There was even an internal system. There were standards to which all of us were supposed to be subjected. The NRM has a constitution, fairly good constitution. But the difference between NRM and maybe other parties is that NRM is run by one man. Even the institution, the same way he runs the countries, the same way he runs the party. I remember one of the most interesting provisions in the NRM constitution is that when you run as an independent, I think every party has it, when you campaign against an NRM candidate, you ceased being a member of NRM. Then we had Otafire. Not only did he run against the NRM, but eventually he was brought back to the Central Executive Committee of the, so he was one of the most senior leaders even after rebelling. Because in NRM, once the owner of the party has said, they are an interesting party. The other day I was telling people, you saw the Honorable Rebecca Kadaga, who wants to remain the second vice chairperson of NRM, going to meet Salim Saleh in Iguru. If you want a waiver, there are people you must see. But I've also covered the NRM when Mr. Museveni says you're not going to compete against Chigongo. These things are historical. They will even find you a job like it happened with the Honorable of Butambala, Kadunabi. It happened to late Medikagwa. And I don't know, there was a time he told, was it Captain Babu not to compete against Bukenya or vice versa. But NRM has processes. Sometimes they rig those processes, but there are other parties that have no processes, so they don't even attempt to rig them. They make NRM sometimes look better because at least they will announce that there will be this and that, and then go and fight and shoot each other and rig. So the National Unity Platform, I want to discuss them from the point of view of internal party democracy. Do you have processes? Do you subject everybody to the same processes? And if this were the disciplinary committee, when we had the issues with the Honorable Bet Kamia, she was summoned by the disciplinary committee, and as a result of the process, a punishment was eventually announced. I think all of us, and that's why as a country, we must be interested in all the affairs of political parties. The reason you go to electoral commission to register a party and register a constitution, it is because someone should hold you to that constitution. Otherwise, it should never have been a requirement in the law, because it is in the law of Political Parties and Organizations Act that when you go to register a political party, you will deposit a copy of your constitution. I think where the law didn't empower either the electoral commission or create a body that is supposed to enforce internal democracy. Because when you read the constitution says a party must be national in character and it must also be democratic. That is actually constitutional. But who enforces, that is where we have a problem.
And the tenets beneath.
Yes, because if the constitution says you must be national in character and must be democratic, then the constitution or Parliament should set up a law under which those two values are going to be enforced on each and every political party. Unfortunately, that hasn't happened. And the party of the Honorable Chinove that is leading the country, I don't think has appetite to establish an institution.
Honorable Samju, do you get a sense that NUP has a mechanism of managing internal strife democratically, or they are using an iron fist of some sort?
No, I have said that since there is no institutional mechanism to enforce, because when you are registering, that's when they are checking whether you are national in character. The law says you go and pick signatures from 2/3 of the district. Do they continuously monitor to see if you are still national in character? I mean, you're all aware that there are political parties that are registered by 1 or 2 people and they are still on the register. And the Electoral Commission has never enforced any standards. As I said, every political party under the law, under the Constitution, is supposed to be democratic. Do we have an institution that checks on that? And I'm saying it is not there. The NRM, I remember when they were expelling the Honorable Niwagawa, Sechikuo.
Bariomunsi.
No, Bariomunsi was not one of them. Tinkasimire and Insereko. As I said, they have processes. They will rig them. but they will create an impression in the public that there are processes. So the National Unity Platform, I can only judge them in as far as their constitution is concerned. I have told you in FDC we had a disciplinary committee. You will go and appear, chaired by the party chairman from the time of, I think, the late Suleiman Chigundu to Ambassador Waswabirigwa. If there is a charge against you, you will go through a process. A process can be rigged. Human beings will seek to rig processes, but the process is there. I don't want to argue with my sister, the Honorable Aisha Kabanda, because I don't know. I have not read their constitution. I don't know what their constitution...
Maybe she will educate us.
What their constitution prescribe. The FDC where I was, which I have left effectively, that's what to obtain. That there will be disciplinary committee chaired. You will be formally charged during a NEC meeting, and you will be referred to that committee, and the committee will sit, and the outcome of that committee is what the party will seek.
I'll bring in Honorable Aisha later, but Honorable Lulume, to what extent does NUP raise the bar in managing internal strife by offering this clemency to rebels?
Well, the manner in which even a communication is made also may determine the response, because people will ask and they'll appeal to the gallery for us who were not part of their internal squabbles. What did I do? Because I saw some of them asking on television, what did I do? So the accusers must explain the public, not internally, what those could have done. And it spills over. Very unnecessary really. But as the Honorable Semuju has said, and theirs is a younger party than ours, these parties are democratic spaces where people must be heard to make a contribution, must be heard if at all there is the unfairness to be fought against. And those democratic spaces internally must have certain checks and balances and must be prescribed. Because parties are public institutions, they also need to abide by certain things that we know, of which we know organizations are managed. You cannot differ much from how organizations are managed. That is why you need to establish a disciplinary committee, and with the due processes of establishment of a disciplinary committee. In our part as a Democratic Party, there is even an appeal. You can even lodge an appeal to a board of appeal or an appeal board. It is enshrined within the Constitution. So it is, and when that appeal board takes a decision, yes, then that is final. So there is even a process of appeal, even to the lower structures. We have that. In the UID, because we founded the UID about 30 years ago, we even had a code of conduct because we felt that the young people needed to have certain stringent ways of managing their affairs, separate from that of the party. And we had a code of conduct very well spelled out. And that code of conduct was supposed to manage everybody, including the president of the UID, including all the cadres that we had. So it was cutting across.
They would all be reprimanded.
Yeah, sorry?
They would all be reprimanded.
Oh yes, that is how Joseph Luzige was reprimanded, and he was deposed as president of the Ugandan Democrats. He was the first pioneer president, and he was deposed as pioneer president, having flouted the code of conduct. Including the national chairman. I think people had the problems with the national chairman, then Mwanga Chifumbi. And I protested that because I felt it was draconian and it was not well handled because people came with a sentence already. So I sided with Mwanga Chivumbi and we lodged an appeal and continued really to protest because justice had not been dispensed. So new parties need to pick a leaf from older parties, how they manage conflict and so on, including listening to people who do not necessarily of necessity have parties like Simon Kagwanjala. I don't know which party now you belong to, but you may be a sympathizer of one, okay? I wish you could continue sympathizing with the Democratic Party. Yes.
I know where you're heading. But I'll give it to you for now.
because you also scrutinize these parties. You have a say. These are public institutions. They take taxpayers' money. So when you bring this kind of conversation...
So what should we interrogate in NUP's pardon? What should we be interrogating?
Well, we observe. We can observe. For them, they can interrogate our observations and make improvements if at all they need to. But if at all they feel that is okay, then it's fine.
Honorable Aisha, maybe I should bring you in before I bring back Honorable Chinobe. What is the criteria for seeking pardon? And who particularly are you talking about?
I can see you people judging NUP as though NUP does not have internal disciplinary mechanisms.
Does it?
As though, yes, it does. We have a disciplinary committee.
Who heads it?
Chaired by Dr. Zedriga. I am her deputy, and I've chaired several conflict resolution meetings, okay, in her absence. So we have disciplinary measures, okay, and we have processes. And it's unfortunate that you've chosen to behave, all of you, like judges, okay?
Yeah, but for the record,
just one second. Who want to pay deaf ear to what is in the public, as though we people here do not know what has been happening, okay, of the members of parliament that have been mentioned. We all want to play as if we don't know. People that have been going publicly speaking anti-party.
Have they been heard?
But have they requested to be heard anyway? Have they?
Do they have a case to answer?
We have said even you should be crediting NUP for being so magnanimous, okay? Because you have opened up doors, you said, please, we think you are wrong. But even when we think so, please come, we talk as party members, okay? We are always at the party. If a member knows that he's a member of the caucus meeting, parliamentary caucus meeting, he's a member of the party, and the party sits regularly and meets regularly, and they don't attend at all, and they choose to go to the media, insulting everybody, including the party leadership, what do you want the party to do for such a person?
Okay.
To thank him?
Have you summoned the culprits formally?
Yes, some of them we have.
Have they snubbed you?
Some of them we have.
Who in particular have you summoned?
You didn't even want to mention their names here. You know them, but when you said the program, you didn't want to mention their names. I want to tell you that the members of parliament know that they have issues, and I want to tell them they have issues in the party. No one has passed a judgment against them, okay? We have only said, please come home, okay? We set a new pace.
Okay. I did mention their names. I want to give you the latitude to mention the names of the MPs that you're targeting.
No. The public knows. You too know, okay? The public knows, because if you had the Honorable Mwanga Chivumbi, he said the list is not limited to the 5. Probably mention the 5 and leave out the others. But the public knows that there are members of parliament that have been going media by media, okay? Insulting everybody in the party, including the president, and speaking ill of the party. So our issue is, we are asking them, do you still want to work with us or not? And one way of showing that they want to work with us is them to come to the party, okay? And we talk about these issues.
They're already guilty, right?
If they choose not to...
Are they guilty?
We have had them on radio.
Are they guilty?
We have had them on TV.
No, but are they guilty?
No one has... If we had passed a judgment, we wouldn't call them. We're saying, please come to the party. Do you still want to work with us? Yes or no? What will show that they still want to work with us is to them to come to the party and say, hey, we heard you talk about my constituency. Is it true? what have I done? Then the charge sheet will be put against before them. Okay.
So you've already drawn a charge sheet before hearing them out.
We are not going to go to the public and start mentioning it because people know. And people have judged them already, okay?
Honorable Binda, you're itching to say something. You could say something.
Tell us what more, let me just conclude with this. Tell us what more you would want of us, okay? After we invited a member of the party to an extended committee, even bigger than disciplinary committee, to be heard.
An extended
committee, yes. Extended committee.
Ad hoc.
Because when a disciplinary committee hears a matter, okay, we make recommendations to our executive board, okay? When we make recommendations to the executive board is upon them to uphold, okay, to approve the recommendations or not. Now, when we choose to meet you as the board, then don't again ask us why we didn't meet you as a subcommittee, because a subcommittee acts for and on behalf of the board, okay? Now, for a member that has been heard, and instead of coming back to the party and give feedback, and chooses to go into the media for rebuttal, what do you want us to do?
For the record, could you tell us one particular member of the NUP who has faced the disciplinary committee of NUP?
Particularly, you mentioned the Deputy President, Honorable Mpuga, okay? When matters of Honorable Mpuga were heard, in the public, just we all pick up issues, a meeting was called where he was present, and there was present several other people. These issues were put before him, okay? He explained his case. A meeting took a resolution, and days were given to him to come and give a feedback. Instead of him giving a feedback, we started hearing issues in the media. So what more do you want the party to do other than saying, please, you have a month to come back to us, or we shall consider you as a person who chose not to work with us. What more do you want to...
Honorable
So it is not true that we don't have disciplinary mechanisms. We do have them.
I think we have a duty. We who have been here for quite some time in political parties to equally guide our other sister parties on matters to do with the management of political parties.
That is if you managed your parties well, because you have worse issues than we do.
It matters a lot which party you are talking about.
Does DP have moral authority to guide anyone?
I am talking about the party you are in now, not the one you were in before you joined that one. So we have got to guide. The freedom to generate political parties was accompanied by regulations and rules, just like Honorable Semjo has been saying. And this was a constitutional freedom under Article 71 and 72, which culminated ultimately into the enactment of the Political Parties and Organizations Act. Now, constitutions of political parties are not supreme law when it comes to management of political parties. In fact, even their decisions are not supreme law. The supreme law is buttressed in Section 10 to the Political Parties and Organizations Act. In fact, when you go to court, political party constitutions are majorly and merely annexures. They are not laws that you're going to cite. So, what does the law say? Fair hearing is mandatory. Honorable Kabanda, while you mention material to do, for example, with the Honorable Mpuga, we find that he was even replaced. Are you now saying that actually judgment was taken but trial continued of the same person?
Summary.
So, because you see, it is extremely incumbent upon a party that is closer to power to exercise the material objects for which it wants to get to power. Because in it, we can get to know, it is prognostic, the manner in which they behave, habinjas the manner in which they will behave while in office. And this is what I think my brother Semju also cited. So, Honorable Kabanda, I am not teaching you where I am better. I am teaching you what I know.
Or where you are
even
failed.
If I have not...
Or what you failed.
Or what I failed. You see, and in fact for us, if you, in your opinion, we have failed, then we have experience of how to fail. to the extent then that we can be in position to guide you. To guide you. And of course, this is one of the problems, Simon, where, for example, there is gladiatorial supremacy contemplated by political parties on the opposition that makes them feel that they have arrived, other than thinking that we still have a future to focus on. Now, if the objects for which we are established include taking power, then there is better care that we need to take, than actually assuming that we have arrived. And because if we assume that we have reached a level where, because when you are surrounded, NRM are just vultures. There is a better technique to apply. When you are surrounded by vultures, please make sure you don't die. Because then, if you just start dying, you are only making better food for them. So we need to exercise some bit of care. And this is materially professional. Fair hearing can cause a lot of, because now, and this is advice given to you before the ultimatum expires, that now you will need to have evidence of invitation for fair hearing, evidence of trial. But if somebody is invited to apologize, that means that invitation is actually a notice of a sentence.
Honorable Aisha, I want to get to Honorable Chinobe, but do you want Mpuga back?
We want everybody back, by the way. We want everyone back. We even want more. Even if I can welcome, Chinobe to my party. Why? What about Mpuga?
To what extent were you
even
bruised
Kagabo,
by,
if whoever can confess his sins and say that I've wrong, I've done all this. But when you say even Kagabo, if that means even you know in your heart of hearts that Kagabo's wrong does so much that it would not be acceptable. But I want to tell you, we're even willing to accept him. Okay? Because in this struggle, we need everybody's hand. Even those that have been dining with the person we are fighting, we are willing to work with them. So if any of them feels he has wronged enough, but willing to reform, they are most welcome back home.
So you're hell-bent on getting all of them out of their constituencies, especially those that we are bringing out, highlighting on the screen.
But the public, even the public, when they listen to you, they just wonder where you are coming from. The people you have highlighted on screen, many of them have been even campaigning for NRM candidates. They have. Some of them have been professing Mzee Itova Kumeini, others is Buttress Sijui. So those are the people you are saying.
And those are the people you are inviting.
We should, as long as they can reform. As long as they can reform.
Some of the people you are putting there have on their own volition announced that they have left. I think Kagabo has since left. This one of Unjeru.
Jimmy.
He's saying the battery needs another battery.
I don't know whether in the communication of the Honorable Mwanga Chivumbi, whether that communication included those who have announced that they have left.
Yeah. It was
because if they have left, then they have left.
That's why I would say we've been so magnanimous.
Yes.
I think, well, let's be fair to my sister, my young sister here. But say one thing that I think we have best practices. My brother here, Honorable Semiji, was saying that yes, parties are public institutions. We should be concerned about how and what you do. Definitely that's the concern which is bringing everybody get concerned that this is a party. Started with a small conflict at the time of its struggle, cannot contain and be tolerant. What if they became state, they got state power? And those are some of the issues that are being, I think, leaking out. This matter, since it became a public matter...
You know your party, just 1 second. You know your party, which I also supported at one time.
Yes.
For them, they would not even set ultimatums, they would kill.
Like
people that turn against them to go to... They killed several of them while they were in the bush. So you're now talking, say we will handle people with heat gloves. They killed several people.
Can I make my point? The reason why we still having cohesion within the NRM is not by accident, because we know how we deal with people, how they are, and what value attached to every fighter that you have in each country.
You're preaching best practices.
I'm preaching
from
NRM. From NRM, because it's not by default that we've been in power for 40 years, where other powers, our other parties failed. I'll give you an example. The first years of the elections, you know what dismantled the UPC? those tendencies to sack him, dismiss that one, and so on. Within a very short time, the infighting that emanated from the UPC led to disintegration to the extent that even the soldier they were using was the one who threw them out. So we are saying that we should learn from best practices here in Africa.
There are no best practices in NRM.
Well,
in NRM?
Like at least retaining power, retaining cohesion, and handling challenges, at least in a sober way. It is true we have a strong man, but even all parties here rotate around strong men. When my brother here, Honorable Semju's party, had the strong man disintegrating from the mainstream, you have now two parties. And these factors are important to hold members together if you use them properly.
I hope you are not comparing Dr. Besigye to Museveni.
I'm comparing.
Because in his second term, he resigned and said other people should run the party.
But Museveni, from the top and controlling by remote is a different matter.
Why doesn't Museveni leave the top and then
because they use different methods of work.
So don't compare cabbage with orange.
And doesn't want to accept that NUP could be having different methods of work.
Yes, that's why I'm saying you may have different methods of resolving conflicts when they come to you. And I'm saying that I think at the time of the phase of your struggle,
how do you bring in the strongman syndrome? Where does it come in? In managing internal strife within NUP?
Oh, yeah, they have strong men. And, well, this is grapevine, that possibly the people they are sacking were threatening the strongman's positions. And possibly they used the excess forces to get rid of them. We're talking about the strength of managing your party politics and how to transit on if you're actually aiming to get state power. Because every stage of that struggle determines whether you're actually moving forwards or backwards. They were criticizing the party and the party. In their disintegrations also, some of these factors could have been there. So we are saying, if you have fighters at the phase of your struggle, the way you move in that phase of the struggle, if you are really serious, look at the focus. Where do you want to go? How do you want to get there?
That's very strong. We don't compromise on
We'll take a very short break, and when we return, our focus will be on the Democratic Party as it undergoes yet a new phase. Mao is reconciling with Honorable Fred Mukasambide. Could this be a facade of sorts, a circus, or a genuine reconciliation? Good evening.
NBS Frontline.